Hello and welcome. There are two of us together today, so you may be watching this on YouTube, either on the Kerry Reller MD channel, or on the Heather Awad MD channel, or on the Vibrant MD podcast. So I am Dr. Heather Awad. I am a family doctor who coaches professional women over age 50 to lose weight for the last time. And I am here with Dr. Reller. So who's going to introduce herself?
Yeah, I am also a family medicine and obesity medicine physician located in Clearwater and Palm Harbor, Florida. And I, help patients make sustainable lifestyle choices to help improve their chronic diseases like blood pressure, diabetes, or anything that is involved or related to weight-related issues.
Great. So you can actually see Dr. Reller in person in Florida, and
Yes.
myself you have to find online. So that's us. So we wanted to talk today about fixing one meal. This is something that I used to do when I had regular family practice, medical practice, because you only have 20 minutes. So you couldn't talk about everything. But if you wanted to talk about, someone had high cholesterol or something, you could say, well, let's talk about one of your meals and try to make that one a little bit better for your good health. But this also works for weight loss. So Dr. Reller and I wanted to talk about that and give you our best ideas today. So Dr. Reller had this really interesting experience with a patient where this strategy, was a great way to start. So want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So I have a monitoring program where patients can log their food. And sometimes I don't really necessarily need it for calorie counting or anything like that, but more for information. In fact, I even made the monitoring company build me a form where they can have it without the calorie counting. So I can at least see what they're doing and having an idea of what, the patient eats every day, so we can offer more suggestions. So it turns out this lady was not really eating any real food whatsoever. She was logging like a soda. She'd log like a granola bar. I mean, maybe like one of those prefabricated breakfast sandwiches, from a frozen section here or there. And then it'd just be like a random cup of ice cream. It was just not real food at all. And yes, it wasn't really nutritious food. And there was just no meal balance. So I'm like, we need to start somewhere here. What can we do to get you eating some real food, like actual, items that weren't frozen or just like a granola bar or some random shake or something. So I told her to pick one meal that we could fix. And I mean, she didn't necessarily stick to the same meal each time, but she did, get better over progress and start including actual food. And I think usually it was for dinner for her where they would try to actually cook something, which was fine because that's what she decided. I think some people may decide a different meal works better for them. And I think it's going to most likely be breakfast or dinner, I think, for some people, but that's probably just because at lunch you're having less time. But so we kind of chatted of what she could do. And I mostly wanted her to actually go to the store and pick out real food, like in the perimeter of the grocery store is what we usually say, right? So you're picking out, usually fruits and vegetables and maybe a lean meat and maybe some other source of protein or something. So I don't want to go into further details, but that's where this topic stemmed from, trying to fix one meal and changing, basically creating new habits, one thing at a time.
Yeah. And starting smaller really works for building habits because people who are listening, you'll find some success with choosing one meal to fix a little better. And it's not so overwhelming as trying to, go on a whole program where everything is different. And then after a couple of days, you're like, wow, this is really hard. Because you can fix the one, and even you might not fix it every day, because you're too busy. But if you fix it a number of the days of the week, then you feel like, wow, I really got a win there. And then as long as once you get used to doing that meal, then you can decide if it's time to fix the second one or not.
Right. Once you build the habit of being consistent or something with one, you can move on to fixing another. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And this works for, all sorts of health issues that people
Hmm.
have that need better food. And, today, of course, we're also talking about weight loss because that's something that we do with people. Um, so
Absolutely.
what I'd like everyone to do now, if you're listening, is to stop and just think, what meal would I start with? And if you're freezing up, I want to tell you, just relax, take a deep breath. You have this inner wisdom. There's one of the meals that you're thinking, oh yeah, it should be that one. That's the one I should fix first. And so whatever that is, I want you to just take a deep breath and know what it is, because I know that you got it in you to pick one. And then Dr. Reller and I are going to talk through kind of our best ideas for all the meals. And so you can just kind of listen and decide what you think. So should we start with breakfast?
Sure. Yeah.
What do you like to tell people for breakfast?
Well, I do like to tell people to make sure to get protein at breakfast.
Right.
So obviously eggs are an excellent resource for protein and fat, but protein, I think everybody associates eggs with breakfast. So I
Mhm.
think that's usually a good choice. And it's harder to incorporate like meats, I think, with your eggs, but if you have time, you could include, a lean meat into like an omelet or something like that.
Mhm.
And then other good choices are yogurt. And you can, if whatever your palate approves, I think, because I think we usually want plain yogurt because the other ones are filled with a bunch of sugar. So I usually try to say, avoid those, but plain yogurt of whatever fat percent you want,
Yeah.
because my husband and I did an experiment of which Faye fat percent tastes the best. So we both tried 5 and 2% and 0. And I'm fine with the 0, but he likes the 2. And I thought the 5 and 2 weren't that far off. So why not go a little bit lower? But
Yeah.
so yeah, I think, it does have a little bit of saturated fat, but it's also pretty healthy. So I often say, yogurt is an excellent source of protein. So also I will sometimes take almonds and maybe like 10 almonds and crush them up and put them
Mhm.
in a yogurt, and that will add even more protein and also gives you that crunch that some people like to have on their yogurt instead of putting sugary granola, which some people think
Mhm.
is healthy, but usually has that added sugar and is not great for a breakfast meal.
Yeah.
And then another great thing to add to that would be fruits. I know you
Mhm.
like to talk about berries a lot.
Yeah, I love
And they're
berries.
very high in antioxidants. I've listened to many of your spiels on berries, so I think I totally agree. And they taste delicious with yogurt. So if you're going to pair them with yogurt, I think that's a great combination. You can also add chia seeds for more protein into your yogurt, or ground flax seed into that as well. Um, my husband and daughter like to do that one a
Mm.
lot. And then I think with eggs, if it's not like a fabricated casserole, I have trouble like adding stuff. So sometimes, I might just say, add a little fruit after you eat the
Mhm.
egg or something like that.
Sure.
Um, so those are the examples of what I would say for protein. Is there anything you might add to that?
I love that you're saying that about protein, and also keeping it more of a savory breakfast, avoiding the
Hmm.
sugar for the morning, because when you can keep the sugar out of breakfast, your blood sugar all day is better.
Hmm.
Um, so you just can't, if you start out with sugar for breakfast, then you kind of lose all day as far as blood sugar goes. And with the higher blood sugar, it just gets more difficult to lose weight. And if you want to make things easier for yourself, I would say go that way. Sorry, my dog is making noise here.
Yeah.
And also, I would say no rules. Like I have one brother-in-law who eats dinner leftovers for breakfast. And
So does mine.
yeah, and at first I thought he's so crazy. And then once I kind of thought, learned more about how good a savory breakfast is, I thought, well, gosh, he's brilliant now, I think. So if you like that,
Right.
then definitely go ahead and do that. Have some fish and vegetables or whatever it is you had for dinner.
Yeah. My brother-in-law will eat anything for breakfast. It's just like a spicy gumbo that my mom had prepared
Ooh.
for the whole family on a special occasion. He's eating it for breakfast for sure. I've never considered it
Nice.
myself, but that is an option. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And
Love
if
that.
you like that, that's a good segue into getting more vegetables at breakfast, which some people really struggle with, including myself. It's just
Mhm.
something that's hard to do. The only way that I end up doing it is if I make like a good like egg casserole, sometimes with cauliflower and a little bit of like mozzarella cheese,
Mhm.
um, or whatever kind of cheese, and like kind of prepare that for the week and eat it throughout the week. That's a
Nice.
way to sneak in the vegetables, and still have, a healthy, savory breakfast, like you said.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can shove some spinach in an omelet and some other vegetables in an omelet, and that's good. Otherwise, I think, I'm not so good at getting vegetables in at breakfast. I don't
Yeah.
know if you have any other secrets for that.
We do the same. Like I'll stir in some whatever greens I have in the fridge into
Mhm.
my eggs if I'm having eggs. I did go to a restaurant where they served basically a pile of greens with vinaigrette on it,
Yeah,
next to, whatever I got for the main dish for the breakfast. And I thought, wow, I could consider that,
that's
in
a
the
good
days that
point. Yeah.
that you're kind of
First
in the mood
Watch
for
does
it.
that. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
First Watch does that. They make they have like an option for a healthy omelet and then give you like a little green side salad with a vinaigrette on it. I don't know if you have those out where you are, but I know they're nationwide and they're
oh,
good.
nice, nice. And
Yeah.
sometimes you got that, bag of greens in the fridge that you can just grab easily because I'm kind of usually in a hurry with breakfast. So
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So obviously incorporating more vegetables into any meal is going to make it more filling and add more vitamins and minerals and that fiber that keeps you fuller longer. So if you can get it in there, that's really good.
Yeah. And you'll
Yeah.
feel better most of the
Mhm.
day. It's a great way to start, just feeling good for the day. Cause sometimes we, are like, oh, that muffin's so great, but then you don't feel so well a couple hours later because your
Mhm.
blood sugar's kind of moving around and you're hungry later. And vegetables just tend to make people feel better all day. And if you pay attention, um,
Right.
it's worth it.
Yeah. Keeping the carbs at a minimum at breakfast is really
Yeah.
good. Now, if I could find the secret way to do that for my kids every day, I would be really happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's hard and a
Yeah.
big complaint I have, but I think we are doing the best we can with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I guess is I think avocado toast is really in these days, and
Yeah.
I go plus or minus with the toast part of it, but obviously having
Mhm.
the healthy fat will also keep you full longer and keep a more
Mhm.
balanced blood sugar earlier. So you could consider that as well.
Yeah.
Um, Certainly popular, and you could find it at a restaurant out if you had to eat breakfast out and they didn't have any options, or you're allergic to eggs or something like that.
Right.
It could be a good option.
And
Yeah.
if you want the grains, there are whole grain
Mhm.
choices too, right? Like the steel cut oats, which you
Mhm.
can make overnight in the crock pot, or
They are good. Yes.
or sometimes I'll make a big pot of oatmeal and just eat it, like you said, with making your egg casserole ahead of time, make a big pot of
Mhm.
oats that you can eat during the week. And
Right. We'll do that with overnight oats sometimes. And in the overnight
nice,
oats, we'll put in the chia seeds and the flax seeds and the berries and all that stuff. And then
nice.
I think usually the next day when you're actually eating it, maybe like like a nut if you want any nuts on top or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good option too. I forgot about those. My husband really likes quinoa bowls at
Mm,
breakfast. I
okay.
guess I'm going to really be an advertisement for First Watch because they have a quinoa bowl with like two eggs on top, and he loves that.
Oh,
And that's like, he is full for a very long time and he's a big eater. So that's impressive that will, keep him satisfied that long. So
nice.
that could
Well,
be an
that should give
option too.
people, yeah, that should give people a lot of ideas for something that they could
Yeah,
do if they want to look at breakfast as their first meal to move around. So let's talk lunch, shall we?
sure.
Yeah.
So lunch, I think, is a tough one. A lot of people are on the go.
Mhm.
I typically will at least try to bring some sort of lean protein along with me, and vegetables for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I think if I don't have fresh vegetables, that's fine. I will heat up like a steamed fresh frozen vegetable bag and eat, probably half of that, to be honest, or a little more. And then, at least I'm getting some vegetables. It still has a lot of vitamins and minerals, and it's definitely still filling. If that's just like a backup kind of plan for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But otherwise, I think a great thing is salad, right?
Sure.
You
Sure.
can make it ahead of time. You could even grill up chicken on the weekend and portion it all and make salads all ahead of time. I used to do that a lot in residency. And then, you've got portion salads for the whole week. You're ready to go. You can have a little container of a salad dressing that you like a lot. And, I think just being mindful of what you put on the salad is obviously, important as well, to not kind of sabotage the salad goodness.
Right.
Yeah. So including, the healthy fats like the avocado, maybe a little cheese if that is to your liking. And you can still do the same things of nuts and seeds to get more protein if you needed that. What else? You could add a little quinoa. Yeah.
I
What's
tend
that?
to be a leftovers person
Yes.
for lunch, because I'm again usually kind of rushed at lunchtime. So that's kind of a portion controlled leftovers is often what I'll do for lunch. And if I'm home, I'll stir in greens with it. Obviously when I was working at a site, then I didn't bring extra greens along, but I just bring that. And I like to have kind of your backup plan so that like there are places you can go I used to drive around for work, so I would know, that certain grocery stores had, I'd have like 3 things I could get there that I know were, like I like grocery store sushi, and the places that have the good salad bar with, good things you can put on it, or they'll have grilled chicken or rotisserie chicken, or and then I can get my container of berries if I'm at the grocery store. So it can be something really simple, but I know it's something I really like eating. And I already know ahead of time before I walk in, these are my 3 choices. What am I going to go for? So there's no decision fatigue or anxiety about like, oh, what am I going to get? I know that if I go to this one grocery store, I'm going to get one of these 3 things, so.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I have 2 days where I'm going in between offices. So we have something called PDQ, which is like akin to Chick-fil-A, but they have a grilled chicken lettuce wrap. And I'll go in, and that if that has to be my protein that day, that's fine. But I'll usually have like a bunch of mini sweet peppers or something to eat with it, if I don't have, if I'm on the go. But I definitely bring leftovers as well. One consult of someone coming in tried to like a demo for something. She's like, that looks so good. Where did you get that? I'm like, I made it. She thought it was like one of those like special catered meal delivery or something like that. I don't know. It was like not that complicated, but she thought it looked really nice. I'm like, yeah, leftovers are really good. And I've noticed when I eat those, I'm full like much longer than maybe those days where I had to get just that little bit of protein and the mini sweet pepper days. So I think it's more a little bit balanced, and I can make it all the way to dinner better. Whereas I used to have to like, I need a protein shake or something like that. I don't do that anymore. So I think that's super important. And, not eating those other things that we're trying to avoid because it's going to just make me hungry shortly after. Which would, anything processed or fast food or anything like that. But having the backup plan is important.
Yeah. And I live somewhere north. So in the winter, I want warm food for lunch. And then, working in a medical office in the summer, it was overly air conditioned. So then I also wanted warm food, because I was cold. So yeah, I mean, think about what makes sense to you, what you like. Does warm or cold food matter? Do you love salads? Then have that, think about, what's going to be delicious for you. And then also it's fine if you like it for a month and you want to switch it up to something else,
Absolutely. Boredom is okay. But if you do get bored with it, you can change it up. So some people like the same thing every day. And some people don't. So it doesn't matter. Yeah.
All good. Well, should we talk about dinner then?
Sure. All
What are
right.
your
So
strategies for
dinner,
dinner that you like to tell people?
well, several things, right? I think portion size for dinner, like you can eat on the smaller plate. So that can fix a meal too, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think that's one thing. Also making sure we didn't talk about this before, but like drinking water can also help you
Mhm.
not be as hungry or incorporate to a balanced meal as well. So then I typically will have for our family a lean protein and a side of veggies and maybe a salad. And then on a not as often, maybe we'll have like a starchy vegetable, like an acorn
Mhm.
squash or sweet potato. Trying to think of what else. Those are probably more of our go-tos for
Mhm.
that. Or, once again, we can talk about backup plan in a minute, but that's kind of what I would build if we're making something at home.
Yeah.
And usually there's going to be olive oil on the vegetables with salt and pepper. Those are the
Mhm.
ones that we like. My
Nice.
kids are funny because they will say that they don't like anybody else's vegetables. They only like mine.
Oh,
And I'm like, well, that's because we roast them with the olive oil with salt and pepper, and it's really
yes.
yummy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you don't like vegetables and you haven't tried roasted vegetables,
right.
definitely try roasted vegetables. There's a million internet recipes, just try something because it's the best. They're so good.
It's delicious. And I mean, even the olive oil, when before you even cook some of them, like let's say it's green
Mhm.
beans, just a little olive oil, salt and pepper on the green bean itself, like raw. It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
like these. It's same with zucchini and squash. Like, so you're getting that healthy fat, you're getting the vegetable and
Mhm.
just wash the salt. But yeah, it's delicious. So there are other ways to cook vegetables if you haven't experienced, roasted. I definitely recommend that too.
Yeah.
But I think it's better than steamed, and I
Yeah.
mean, baked is pretty good too, but on the grill is another delicious way to
Mhm.
eat them. Like if we're turning on the grill to grill salmon or grilled chicken or
Mhm.
maybe a lean flank steak, or trying to think
Yeah.
of some other
Sometimes a
things.
burger, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Then, I mean, throw the vegetables on there too. Put a little olive oil, salt and pepper, and it's awesome. So we'll do
Good.
squash, zucchini, those acorn squash. We had a no oven for almost 11 months. So we were
Oh,
doing a lot on the grill. I couldn't do anything. And I did have to buy an air fryer to help me out a little bit, but you can put anything on the grill for real.
yeah. Nice.
So I would recommend that. And then if a big, not a big, but a salad for everybody to share is also, helpful
Mhm.
as well. And I think I kind of grew up with always having like the salad and then a vegetable and a meat. So that's
Nice.
helpful for, you know, feeling that fullness of fiber and sometimes the stretchfulness that is,
Yeah.
kind of gives off that hormone to tell you that you're full. So that's why I kind of like the vegetables in there
Yeah.
even more so with the extra salad. And then if let's say I'm trying to see if we have typically if we're eating like rice or quinoa or something, it's because we're using our backup plan. So
Okay.
I do it sometimes at home, it depends on what it is, but usually we have to eat out a little more because of kids and sports.
Sure.
So I
Sure.
will have the backup plan. We'll know the restaurant that makes a healthier rice bowl or something, right? So
Yeah.
I'll get like a brown rice base, and sometimes it's not brown. And I know I've listened to some of your episodes where you eat a little bit
Yeah.
less of the white, right?
Right.
So
Right.
if it's in
Yeah.
there, I'll still eat it. It's just if they put too much, you can ask for less too. So,
True.
you can
True.
always adjust your order and they're pretty accommodating. So, yeah, well, I mean, which I guess Chipotle could be an example for us. Like we put a brown rice base, some black beans, the chicken,
Yeah.
and some of the other like salsa things on there, trying
Yeah.
to avoid the burrito and the tortilla. And we don't eat the chips either, but those
Sure.
things will definitely not usually something I want to eat all the time. But I mean, basically having those
Yeah.
backup plans are
Yeah.
very important, I think.
And I really like Chipotle because all the food is pretty much real food,
Hmm.
right? So you can take
Yeah,
your family in there as long as they like it. Of course,
right.
yeah, I've got 4 kids and, one of them is always like, not Chipotle.
Yeah.
that day or whatever. But if everyone agrees to it, you go in there and it's all real food. So
Right.
it's a really nice thing because you're not kind of like, well, don't get that thing, but
Yeah, I've had trouble there lately only because I have a little bit of an onion intolerance. So I'm like always picking the onions out and eating really, really, really slow. But
yeah,
otherwise, if you don't have that problem, I think it's, pretty decent food as a backup plan. If that's, if your plan is not always, if it is always to eat at home, which is, usually a goal, but a lot
yeah.
of times we have to eat out. So that's one. And there's a similar place we have around here called Tijuana Flats that we can build something like that too.
Mhm.
And then other places I know where they have the salad that I like or something
Yeah.
like that. So we can always find something like that is healthy that is out as well and isn't as much as like, a super fast food like a McDonald's or something like that. So definitely planning ahead, but having that backup plan is very, very important.
I like to talk also about home backup plans because
Mm,
sometimes you're home and you're like, what do I do? And so I, not that everything has to be Tex-Mex, but we always have refried beans at home and some salsa and things that we could make something, cut up some sort of vegetable that we have and put those together to make some sort of burrito or bowl or whatever. If we're um, just not ready to cook or
hmm
too tired to cook or running late or out of groceries or all those things. Sometimes when I would be coming home from work and just thinking, I am not going to cook tonight, I'm exhausted, because we've all been there too, right?
Right.
um, I would pick up a rotisserie chicken and the bag of green
Yes.
beans, because my family liked the green beans. We could steam those and then I toss them with a little bit of either olive oil or sesame oil and a little bit of soy sauce. And that was, I mean, that's a 5-minute dinner.
Mm-hmm.
The chicken's cooked and the beans are there, and that's, you know, good enough.
Right. We
And
do the rotisserie chicken too.
yeah, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great one for, you can put it into your regular rotation, but we needed a backup often enough
Right.
that was our backup. In fact, we had a nanny who came to visit and she asked my kids, do you guys still eat rotisserie chicken and green beans?
That's funny.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
I learned to master the green bean bag in the microwave when we didn't have an oven, and they are just as good. Like if you get the time right. So
Yes.
depending upon your microwave, of course, it says like 5 to 7 minutes. I think in our new microwave, we do it at 6 and the old one I did it at 5. And
Yeah.
like just add in, like you said, the oil, and I just do salt and pepper. I'm not big soy sauce, but they taste very, very good. It's
Yeah.
almost as good as roasted or anything like that. So we'll do that in a quick fix if we have them. Or we always keep like those frozen bags of
Right.
cauliflower,
Right.
broccoli, carrots, or
Yeah.
like I said, husband's quinoa bags.
Yeah. And people
um,
wonder sometimes if those are healthy, but we should tell the audience too that those are usually
mhm.
picked, flash frozen. So they're actually a really healthy choice. Um,
Right. Not the
you
ones
know,
with all the sauces.
right,
I
right.
try to avoid those. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, they're fine for a backup plan. And like I said, I like them for lunches too. So
Yeah.
yeah, backup plan for that too. So trying to think if we do anything else. I usually have like a cooked meat frozen, like if I like a ground turkey or something like
Mhm.
that I might throw in like a quick pasta sauce and then put it over zoodles or spaghetti squash. Like that's pretty quick as well. That we'll
Yeah.
do. Um, Shrimp is really quick too if it's
Yeah.
thawed.
True.
It
True.
doesn't take that long to thaw.
Right.
So
You fix it fast.
those are no excuse backup homemade meals. Like you still have
Yeah.
10 minutes, you can do this.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I do like to, if you're, thinking, well, if you're listening and thinking, well, I'd like to cook more, sometimes just picking 1 or 2 meals a week.
Right.
I had a family I was talking to recently who they wanted to cook all the days. So they got all the stuff and then they were feeling bad because everything was going bad. And I said, okay, next week, how about if you just do one, pick the day,
Mhm.
make the meal, and make sure that it happens and only that day. And that will be such a big win for your family. And they were like, that doesn't seem like enough. I'm like, just start with one, pick
Right.
a night, and do that. And my husband and I have different nights that we do the cooking. Um, And it's mostly me because of our schedule and I like cooking. But again, I also look at the week and go, okay, 2 or 3 dishes that I know I'll have time to cook. And usually there's one night that it's a quick thing, or I'll do a slow cooker thing. But just looking ahead and really having low expectations,
Mhm.
for allowing it to be just a couple nights that you cook a nice dinner, and the other nights if it has to be something quick, we've given you lots of ideas now for quick things, and letting that be okay. You know, and when you have to
Absolutely.
go
Yeah.
places, knowing where the places are that you as the parent, if you have to drive kids around, are okay. Sometimes I'm telling my kids, this place or that place, and they're like, but what about, no, this place or that place, you get to pick, but we're going to one of the places where I know the food's going to be, you know, healthy to eat.
Yes, usually I'm like, we're going here. You tell me what you want.
Right.
Or I'll get you. My kids are young enough where, I'm still making those decisions for them. So,
Yeah.
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 And I
And
make
I
sure
actually,
they eat kind of what we eat most,
right.
definitely at home.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I don't allow them to have a kids type meal at a different place, but at home, I'm not making them separate meals or anything like that.
Right.
So
Right. Me neither.
I think that's important.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I had 4 kids. So oftentimes we do 2 vegetable sides, and,
Hmm.
and I just be like, well, I know you like at least one of these, because,
Yes.
because I know what you like to eat. And one of those was oftentimes the frozen heat up, but
Yeah.
if that was what the one kid liked and wasn't going to eat the other thing that was part of the main dish, then it works.
Yeah. We'll do
Yeah.
that too, especially if it's asparagus. I'm nice to my daughter and I won't make her eat it. So we'll have
Right.
extra vegetables that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good. Well, let's talk dessert too. I mean, even on a weight loss journey, I think dessert once or twice a week is great, and can be part of your weight loss journey, right? I mean,
Sure. Yeah, well, coming off my recent vacation, I'm going to try to take a break from dessert. But one thing I like to do, but I don't do enough, is like maybe just like bake or microwave apples and put cinnamon on it. I think that's like a
yum.
nice treat for the kids,
Yeah.
or myself. And then, or just, usually we talk about fruit and we have frozen mangoes and frozen red grapes in our freezer all the time. And that's like their
Ooh,
fruit dessert and
nice.
it's delicious. So if you haven't tried frozen grapes, I highly recommend it.
Mm,
They're very sweet. And then what else do they do? I don't know. They have small things. I mean, I'm more thinking of my kids. For me, I'm like, if it's going to be something, a dessert that I like, it's going to be the exact thing I want, or I don't think I want to bother with it. So,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. For
Well,
instance,
that's a good
it's,
point, right? If
yeah,
you're going to have it, have something you really like.
I'm not going to eat a cookie that I know doesn't look, I'm a pretty snobby cookie eater, right? I'm not going to try this other cookie. It has to be what I want. And it was my son's birthday and they had a cookie cake from one of my favorite places or whatever. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm going to eat that because it's delicious and I
Yeah.
love it and I'm going to enjoy it. And we froze the next half because my husband's birthday was a couple of days later. And I'm like, we're not buying two. So, we just celebrated again with the same happy birthday sign. And, that worked for us. But yeah, I'm going to eat dessert when I know it's something that I like a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And I
Yeah.
don't really personally need it outside of that.
Right. Right. And when you're
Yeah.
looking at, and if you're an adult and you're on a weight loss journey, I like to tell people to have it with the meal at the end
Right.
of the
Yeah.
meal, because that will, take your blood sugar curve and not have it spiking high. So that whole, life is short, eat dessert first is not great for a weight loss journey.
Right.
Because you can actually hide, it's almost like you can hide a small dessert at the end of your
Hmm.
meal. You almost hide it from your body as far as blood sugar goes. It just gets kind of, if you've had some protein, fiber, and healthy fats with the meal, um, you're not going to get a big blood sugar spike from having dessert at the end. Now, that thing where you're full and you have it 2 hours later really doesn't serve
Right.
you that well if you're trying to lose weight. So I say try to have it with the meal.
Yeah, I will speak personally on that. So I used to always want something after my kids went to bed where my husband and I had about 20 minutes up to ourselves and then we went to bed. And I would save my yogurt or berries or yogurt and granola for then. And since I've learned these new things, I think it's made a big difference too. Like either I will realize, yes, I'm not truly hungry for it and I'm not going to eat it. Right.
Yeah.
Or, okay, I might eat it or I want it, but I'm going to bring it and eat it with the meal. And that means I'm not overly full and I've saved kind of room for it, if you will.
Yeah.
So I think it's made a big difference for me. If you want to talk about, I think you just did one on like losing the last 5 pounds. I haven't listened to that, but I mean, I think that made a difference for me personally, you know, in the recent months, I guess, even maybe years. It's been a while, but yeah. So bring that with the meal and not 2 hours later.
Yeah.
No.
So, well, this has been a great conversation. I'm so glad we got to talk about this. Because it's
fun.
It can be overwhelming to try to think I used to do this myself to be like, I'm going to change everything, you know, and it seems so hard then when you did it. And then also when you stumble, as we all will, then it's, you know, seems like you're just doing a bad job, but if you just pick one thing to do and you don't expect yourself to do it perfectly, then, you know, can be great. And you should celebrate those, whatever meal it is that you're working on, because that's actually a brain chemistry thing that will also help your brain be like, oh, look at us. We ate 3 really nice breakfasts this week. And so then your brain's like, oh, look how good we are. Let's do a 4th day next week, or let's start bringing our lunch, you know, or something, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to start, especially if you're just starting to, you know, start small and get it down before moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you mess up or whatever, just start with the next meal then. You don't have to wait, you know, till the next day or week if you mess something up. Just start right then, you know.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thanks everybody for being with us here today, whether you're watching us move around on YouTube or listening on on the podcast. So why don't we both talk about where people can find us if they'd like to hear more about what we have to say or work with us. Why don't you go ahead?
Sure. So like I said, I'm in person in Clearwater and Palm Harbor, Florida. Our website is www.cfma.health. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Clearwater Family Medicine. Facebook's at Clearwater Family Medicine and Allergy. And on my YouTube is Kerry Reller, MD. So you can find me at all of those places. Oh, and I do have a podcast called Get Healthy Tampa Bay.
Nice. If people want to hear more of what I have to say, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is Heather Awad MD. YouTube is Heather Awad MD. Facebook is Vibrant-MD. And if you want to go to my website if you are thinking that you're a professional woman over 50 and you'd like to find out more or connect with me personally, my website is vibrant-md.com, and there are spots there to connect together. So
awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for this conversation. It's fun to talk about these things together. I love hearing your ideas.
Likewise. Yeah.
All right.